Hello, and welcome to Nostalgia Marcana. I'm your host, Doug Leaf. Each episode of this podcast, we'll look back on the movies, TV, games, people, and phenomena that we still love talking about all these years later, and ask ourselves why these bits of pop culture still enchant us today. This week, we'll be revisiting...
Open up your eyes, take a look at me. Get the picture fixed in your memory. I'm driven by the rhythm like the beat of a heart, and I won't stop until I start to stand out. To stand out. Some people settle for the typical thing, living all their lives waiting in the wings. It ain't a question of if, just a matter of time before I move to the front of the line. Once you're watching every move that I make, you gotta believe that I got what it takes to stand out above the crowd. Even if I gotta shout out loud, so mine is the only face that you see. Gonna stand out so you notice me.
Yup. We're talking about a Goofy movie today. How goofy? Well, not extremely goofy, just regular goofy. We're talking about a Goofy movie today, and I'm very excited to be doing this because if you are within a certain age range, this movie is basically breathing to you. It is the air. It is just part of your DNA. So I'm really glad to be doing this. But of course, we couldn't be talking about a Goofy movie without an entire Goof Troop. So first, I want to welcome him back to the show. He's been on several past episodes, including Calvin and Hobbes, Dazed and Confused, and our big 100th extravaganza on Friends. Welcome back, Case Aiken. Nice, A-hyuck. And she's also been on several of our shows before, including 16-bit Disney video games and D2 The Mighty Ducks. Welcome back, my good friend Eileen Mayse.
Talk to me, baby.
As you can see, I've brought people who have a profound love of a Goofy movie to this. This is a movie that for me sort of escaped me, as we'll talk about, because I'm not in the right age range to kind of be in the pocket for this. I'm just a little bit older than you guys are. So I'm really glad you're here to talk about it because, like, Eileen, I've known you for a lot longer than I've known Case. And in the time that we've known each other, I'll say a good, 35% of it has been talking about a Goofy movie?
I'd say like 35% Goofy movie and like 30% Space Jam. So we're really cutting a big one out right away right now.
I was going to say, we haven't done the Space Jam podcast yet, but we might as well put it on the big board for when we get there. So we'll do Space Jam eventually. So Eileen, I'll start with you. Tell me about your nostalgic memories of a Goofy movie and like, why is this something that you have been so obsessed with all these years?
Oh man. I mean, like I remember seeing it in theaters with my mom and my brother and just really like I was young, but it really, as like a comedy nerd, even at a young age, it like sparked something where it's like, oh my God, like an animated movie can be like, it can have heart and it can also be super, super, super funny. And I think that's really why it's had a lot of staying power in my life. Me and my brother and my cousins would like watch it on VHS all the time whenever we were together. It was like our road trip movie too, because it's a movie about a road trip, so that makes sense. Just then like coming up like in the 2000s on like Twitter, like meeting up with other people that loved it so much. So it's just always been an integral part.
Did you watch Goof Troop at all before this movie? Did you have that excitement about it going in, or
we were big Goof Troop fans, and me and my brother have an annual Christmas tradition where we watch the Goof Troop Christmas special on VHS together. And we still do that to this day.
You have to dig out the VCR to do it?
Yeah, it has to be on VHS. Like, doing it on Disney Plus does not count. We dig out the VCR. We still have it in our basement in my parents' house.
Right, it's still probably got, like, the promo for Lion King 2 or something on the front of it.
You cannot skip the promos.
Yeah.
It also has the holiday episode of Darkwing Duck, and sometimes we watch it, sometimes we don't.
Okay. All right, well, let me turn it over to you, Case. Tell me about why, because I had talked to you about, hey, if you came back on the show, what would you want to talk about? And you were like, Goofy movie. Like, no hesitation. So tell me why.
Well, similar kind of story. So I was 11 when this came out. I was already a fan of Goof Troop. I should probably lead with that one. So I was already primed to check out this movie. I was a Disney fan. I'd been a big fan of the Disney Afternoon growing up. And the spin-off movies that they did, which was this and DuckTales, were both movies that I really enjoyed. And like DuckTales was a flop, which is why this movie got pushed, which is why this movie is not a Goof Troop movie. This movie is just the people behind Goof Troop then going on and making a movie that is canonical to Goof Troop, but like is, positioned as its own kind of independent thing. And that's because the DuckTales movie didn't do too well. But I was primed to appreciate this movie when it came out, regardless of the actual qualities of the movie. And then you actually look at the movie itself and you think about like, well, 11-year-old nerd who's trying to sort of understand and like go into middle school and high school. This became very much like the blueprint for how I would wish that I could be, even though I wasn't as cool as Max. And like part of the theme of the movie is sort of accepting the fact that like you're going to be a little bit of a nerd on top of a little bit of, like whatever you do to be cool, like you're always going to have like something goofy at heart. And so that was a big part for me. Also, the music was a really big thing for me. And like, we can't not talk about the music. And yeah, obviously the Powerline stuff for a big part of that. But the soundtrack in general is just fantastic. And the Powerline portion sort of was like when I opened me up to more modern pop music just in general. Like I just hadn't been like a big music appreciator at that point. Like, and it would be a few years before I like got a car and I got like a car radio. And that's sort of when I really got into music. But this was like an early entry point into me just like appreciating music for the sake of listening to music. Like I got the soundtrack and listened to the hell out of it. So yeah, it was a big thing for me then. It's a movie that I could like, we threw it on with my daughter the other night and I was doing every single line. It's just one of those movies where you just know, like you just watched it a billion times and you just know all the lines and you know all the jokes. Yeah, it's that movie for me, in a way that almost nothing else is. The only other movie I think that like kind of like competes with it is ironically directed by the same person, and that's Disney's Tarzan.
Yes.
Kevin Lima, who directed
that,
this, yeah, has a tiny filmography as a director, but he has goddamn bangers. It's Tarzan, Enchanted, like some really
strong
solid
batting
stuff.
average.
Yeah. Fantastic stuff. So like, it's a really good movie. It's a fantastic father-son movie. I think every teenage boy going through the sort of adolescent like struggles with their dad can really relate to this. Now as I'm getting older, I'm really relating to Goofy and his side of the adolescent struggle. But it just is one that like, as soon as it hit, it was just like, yep, this is my movie. I'm just gonna let everyone know this is my thing.
Yeah, and see, for me, this was actually my first time watching it all the way through. I had only seen like the first half of it once, and that it has so much to do with the fact that I'm just older than you guys. I was born in 1980, so I was 15 when this came out. And so, like, first of all, I had watched Goof Troop. I enjoyed Goof Troop. I liked it. And I remember seeing promos for this, and I noticed, like, the voice actor for Max was different. And I was like, what is this? This isn't quite right to me. Now, that's actually the result of a tragedy we can talk about, but the voice actor
I also will note that Jason Marsden had already started to show up on my radar at this point. He had been in a bunch of Disney stuff, like he was on Boy Meets World, and so like I was also like primed to appreciate him as a voice actor. I think this is the first time where he was a voice actor where I was like, oh my god, I recognize him and appreciate the part for it. But he would go on to do he's like young Superman on the Superman animated series from the 90s. Like he voiced a ton of teenage characters, but like I said, in that scenario, yes, the passing of the voice actress who played Max in Goof Troop prevented her from playing the part in the movie, but Jason Marsden was a fantastic replacement.
Yeah, no, he does a great job, and actually, it forces them to age Max up. It actually works for the plot that he's older in this than he is in Goof Troop. But at the time, like my initial impression was like, why are we doing knockoff Goof Troop? Like, this feels weird. Like, why wouldn't you just cast the same person? I would have no way of knowing, of course, that this actress had died young. Like, I would have no way of knowing that because the internet was barely a thing. back then. And like my head was just in a different space. So like I've talked about this, but like my favorite Disney animated film also comes from this period. It's Hunchback, which is as far into the dark as this is into the light, right? That's what I wanted from a Disney movie. Like, yeah, give me a movie that's fucked up as much as you can for a Disney movie. That's what I wanted. And so this was like, it was, like I said, I was just a little old for it. And it seemed like, no, maybe not my thing. And so I
want a Disney movie that's fucked up, not a yucked up.
Yes, correct. And so like, yeah, like again, like this. So getting into the soundtrack, we've done 2 episodes on this show on our favorite Disney songs. We did one on the canonical, like Walt Disney Animated Studios films. This is not, although this is a Walt Disney animated movie, it is not like when they say like Encanto is the 60th Disney movie. This film is not in that count because it was done by a separate like satellite studio. But we also did a second episode to cover everything that was not in that count of movies. So your live action stuff, your Mary Poppins, Pixar, Nightmare Before Christmas, all of these things that would now be in contention. And all the other guests on my show were born roughly the same time I was, so none of us picked any of the songs from this movie. And I even said, I think like, man, I think I apologized to you in that episode, Eileen, because like I know like, there's people who are like diehards. There are people who are diehards for this soundtrack, and they're probably like any '90s kid is like, why didn't they pick any of the songs from a Goofy movie? And it's for all that reason of just like we were all like the wrong age when this hit. Now having seen it, this is fun. This is a really excellent movie. I'm not going to be criticizing at all. This was great. And especially someone who's watching it for the first time as, again, like sort of the Goofy is my avatar in this movie as opposed to Max. It really changes the way you look at it.
Yeah, right before we started recording, I rewatched the opening 30 minutes of it. And it's so... The Goofy performance is so good throughout this whole movie. Like, I'm not going to say Goofy acts as a rational character throughout. There's several points where the drama of this movie only happens because they are incapable of talking to each other about their feelings. And that, comes to the end of the movie, and that's the whole eye to eye thing. But
spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yes. In a movie about fathers and sons, that eventually the fathers and sons come together and
wow. Okay. I'm trying to speak as just the new audience member for Doug right now. It's like, what's this movie?
Who signed on to listen to this podcast without having seen the movie, which would be really interesting.
Yeah, and without having listened to the soundtrack even.
Yeah.
Jeez. But I would say that, like Bill Farmer's doing a really good job playing this character who is dealing with, like, when he gets the call from Principal Mazer and he, melts into his seat and says, what am I going to do? And then the blue light special light comes on, which is such a great, like, gimmick of a thing that,
he works at Kmart.
Exactly.
Remember Kmart guys?
Yeah, it's very much of the time, but like that felt like what stores looked like at the moment there. And
yeah.
So him melting and just being like so depressed about the relationship with his son that he had assumed was working one way and then just had that entire perception derailed. And you can see the depression that the character is going through and trying to figure out what he can do to sort of right this process. And now I think that the movie does an amazing job by itself. I think that if you factor in the longer relationship that we have seen between Goofy and Max, both in Goof Troop and then just like in shorts that have come out in the interim, like there does, like it does even more to sort of like put the weight of this relationship and to make you really feel the challenges that Goofy is going through. I mean, Goofy is... Okay, so I'm not trying to make an ableist comparison here, but Goofy is comparable to like Forrest Gump at the end of the movie, where like it is a person who has limitations, who is working his best, and is very emotional and like is going to do the best job that they can. But there are restrictions in terms of Goofy's capability to function as like we see on the road trip the whole time. Like there's multiple points where they almost die because Goofy's just like comically like a goof in this whole situation, but you never deny that he loves his son so much and that he's trying his best, and you really feel it in this movie.
Yeah, I want to give credit to Bill Farmer as well, who's been the voice of Goofy. He's still the voice of Goofy.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's for like my entire adult life, for injecting pathos into this character, which, as you said, is a tricky balancing act because he's it's literally his name. He's Goofy. His whole persona before this, for 50 some odd years or whatever since Walt Disney first created him, is just he's dumb. That's his sole character trait, right? That's Donald is angry, Mickey has no personality, and Goofy is a complete idiot. That's your comedy trifecta. But like he doesn't exist except like my favorite Goofy bits from like the old days are like, when he tries to like, how to be good at skiing or whatever. And he smashes into trees and stuff. So to now give him like a son and a presumably dead wife and, make him a single father to this kid and like struggle through his adolescence and still come across as like the character we've all known for 60 some odd years. That's tricky. And I think they pull it off really well.
I agree. I'm like, it's crazy that this is the same Goofy that didn't know how to ski, had to like wear that like full body swimsuit to learn how to swim in specials, is a single dad, has his own home though, is a homeowner, works at Kmart, and then also like helps Sora fly through a lot of planets and save Kingdom Hearts. Like, same guy. What a resume.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, remember when Goofy fought Sephiroth?
Yeah.
It is the same Goofy. It's the same Goofy, guys.
It's all canon.
No, actually, so bringing up his career is a point that for a long time when I was, because I was obsessed with this movie for a long time, I've spent a lot of time thinking about it and thinking about the canon of this movie versus the sequel, Extremely Goofy Movie, and like how it relates to Goof Troop. Yeah, Extremely Goofy Movie is not as fun. It's sorry,
something caught in my body.
Yeah, it went from Goofy movie to an extremely Goofy movie to an upsettingly Goofy movie to an inadvisably Goofy movie. I don't know what it would be if they had made them, but something like that.
I would love an inadvisably Goofy.
Yeah. Sign me up.
Yeah. But so while I was looking at just this movie, it always felt weird that like in the next movie, he has a totally different career. And then I did spend some time like looking at old Goofy shorts when I was doing an Extremely Goofy Movie on my podcast, Another Pass, where we look at movies that we find fascinating but flawed and talk about how they could have been improved at the time of production. So we did an Extremely Goofy Movie, and looking at the canon of Goofy material, one of the things that is really interesting about him is that he is moving from career to career every single piece. Like that is just a part of it. And in that regard, this movie where he just happens to work at Kmart in this movie and happens to be doing the things that he's doing, that is extremely fitting for any Goofy project, any Goofy short. So like this movie is accurately a Goofy movie. Like it's a Goofy short writ large, and so we have much more drama. We have we have arcs for the character. We have all this stuff, but it is still also like going on to this tradition of Disney cartoons about Goofy, where he's a clown. And I mean that in like a literal sense of like he is a clown character going through what we would consider ordinary things, and because of his antics, it's funny to watch. This is why it's funny to watch him learn how to ski, because it feels like here's the instructional videos of the day, and it's like here's how we a narrator explaining to some able-bodied young man how to like get on the skis and like go on down. But because Goofy is a clown, like who does pratfalls and who does antics and it does this like slapsticky stuff where he doesn't get hurt because he's a cartoon character. He's able to do these like very funny versions of this whole story. Even when we see him at Kmart, it's pretty funny to see how he behaves with everyone, like the whole like getting the squeaker in his mouth and making squeaking noises for it. Like that's all part of this like clownish activity for the character. And it's fun looking at this movie as a whole and being like, oh yeah, not only is this a really good movie, not only is this the weird movie where we have to thank Jeffrey Katzenberg for its existence, which is like always kind of like an awkward thing to feel. But it's a really good continuation of a long tradition of Goofy properties.
But now that we're living in a post-Barbie movie world, what if it is all different Goofies?
Well, also, I thought about that. I did think about that because when we're looking at the map and how it's been signed over from father to son, and it's like all these different goofs, and then like we see the opening dream where he turns into Goofy, where you're like, wait, maybe Max is specifically going to be the Goofy of the modern Mickey's Clubhouse and stuff.
I just want like there to be a Goofy's dream world where there's a bunch of Goofies all living in the same neighborhood and they're all named Goofy.
A citadel of Goofies.
That's my dream. That's my fan fiction.
It sounds like an uncomfortably goofy movie.
Too many Goofies.
Too many Goofies. A Gremlin's worth of Goofies. So, well, let's get into it. Let's talk about this movie beat by beat, because I think there's a lot of fun stops to make along this road trip. So we open with, of course, the one and only true Disney opening logo, which is that blue one with the white castle and the whistle noise. Still, by the way, I will note we're on episode 120 or 30 of this podcast, some odd. We have not done an episode on an actual like Disney animated classic. No one has yet come on to do like The Little Mermaid. It hasn't happened. It's weird. We have not done any Pixar movies. We have not done any Disney movies. We've done some of these like satellite Disney things, but not this. Anyway, so we get that logo and we get the opening of Gladiator 5 years before that movie. Mm-hmm. Which is
right.
Like when I saw this, I was like, they literally did this thing that Gladiator would do. So we're in the Elysian wheat fields as Max is being called to by his crush Roxanne. And this turns into a nightmare when he, as much as he wants to be with this girl, he starts having some Cronenberg transformation into his father and wakes up in a cold sweat.
Yeah. Okay. So we need to pause and discuss Roxanne for a moment there.
Okay.
Because we have to talk about Roxanne. I mean, because she's been introduced and she's a major character who doesn't actually have that many scenes in this movie.
Also not in Goof Troop, as I recall.
Also not in Goof Troop. Yeah.
No, she's in House of Mouse though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for the little teases that they've had for the future.
Sorry. Yeah. I'm sorry I derailed you, Case. Go on.
No. So first up, Kelly Martin playing the part of Roxanne, who I adore. She was super on my radar at this point because she was the voice of Daphne on the A Pup Named Scooby-Doo cartoon, which was like my growing up.
Oh my God. Sorry, I just made that realization just now.
Yeah. She's awesome. She was I watched all of Christy, which was like her big show in the 90s, where she was like a teacher in the frontiers of like Appalachia. So, like she's great. She's a fun actress with a great voice. And she plays Roxanne, who is ambiguously aged in this movie. Like she's kind of designed to be sort of just like a love object for that anyone can kind of relate to. Like I was like watching it this time, like trying to like identify what traits they were putting on her to make it to emphasize that she's supposed to be like a freshman or sophomore in high school. And they kind of design her just to be generically like pretty cartoon lady. And in this one, she's just supposed to be a fantasy at this point. So she's in this like white gown and she like floats down and Max is in a white version of his outfit. And they're just like laughing and so forth. But Roxanne ultimately is not just a fantasy character. She is a character who is supposed to be like a realistic relationship target, despite the fact that Max does it in just the weirdest possible ways he could go about it. Like the concert that we'll get into is such a weird way of gaining attention. And the point ultimately is that he could have related to her without it. Like without all the weirdness, but he keeps thinking he has to top it. And that's it's so important. Because media is so built around putting these like big displays of affection out there, and we need to remind people that these are dumb. Like they don't actually work. It's always about like putting a person on a pedestal and then having to like prove your worth, which is never how real relationships are formed. Certainly not the solid relationships.
I'd get an allergy attack if I was having a moment with my husband in a wheat field in a white dress. I would just break out. I need Benadryl.
You did ping something for me, Case, which is that idea of Max is obsessed with this idea of like, I need to impress her with a grand gesture. And to echo that, like, don't do this to try and impress her.
Right.
Like grand gesture, it's a good way to scare away a potential love interest by doing something that big. Being a dumb teenager, I did shit like that too, because I was like, oh, I don't know, I guess I should write this girl a sonnet to tell her I like her, which only tells the person that, well, this guy is probably a little creepy but good at rhyming. That was it, And that is so much of this movie is he's digging himself this hole because he thinks he needs to impress her. She already likes him. He doesn't know that. You could just ask her, out, but that's not what I guess he thinks he needs to do.
Yeah. And circling back to the dream sequence, like he feels that he is coming from a disadvantage because he is Goofy's son, that he is inheriting the traits of Goofy. He is so embarrassed every time he laughs like Goofy. Like, you see why he thinks he needs to do these grand gestures, because he perceives himself as being in a bad position in terms of gaining affection from people. Because do we want to get into, well, you know what, let's well, do we want to get into this whole thing, the racial coding of the Goofs?
I was not going to bring up anything about what race Goofy is. I assume he's a dog.
Yeah.
Although Pluto also a dog, so
I've seen discourse about it. I just think he's a dog. Like, he's a dog in a world of dogs.
So I don't want to go too deep on this one, but I do feel like we should pay it some attention. So there is a conversation, particularly online, that Goofy is black coded, and that Max is to a certain degree as well, just by virtue. But this leads into things like the types of jobs that he does in those old shorts, and that the nature of the character sort of indicates someone who is at the very least blue collar, and that there is a conversation to be had about whether or not some of the perceived issues that Max is going through is racial discomfort. Now, I don't look, we're three white people on this call. I don't want us to spend too much time on this one because I don't necessarily know if none of us
qualified.
Are yeah, exactly. we're super not qualified for it. But I do think it is an interesting standpoint where if you feel like you're lower class in your society, if you do feel like you are in a lower caste of the, especially high school, that's where a lot of this tension and anxiety that the character is going through.
Well, yeah, I would definitely agree that there's they are cast as they are not as well off, especially compared to their neighbor Pete, who's portrayed as opulently rich. I don't know that any of that is meant to be black coded, and I don't know if there's some weird shit related to the fact that Walt Disney has not had the best history. Go see the crows from Dumbo. There's there's Song of the South. I was about
to say Song of the South.
They've tripped over themselves a bit, in that regard here and there. I don't know that Goofy's origins, back in the 30s relate to that in any way. But I will say, obviously being the son of Goof, that the show did that as well. A lot of the comedy engine of the show is Goofy is embarrassing. It is embarrassing to be connected to him in any way. The whole town seems of Spoonerville. They don't say it here, but the town is called Spoonerville. Seems to know that Goofy has this reputation as being the biggest moron on the planet. And so there's an embarrassment there. So whether there's any sort of racial element to that, it's interesting that conversation is happening. I just don't know what to do with it.
I don't know. And that's why I feel very uncomfortable because there's a lot of points that I've read that I'm having a hard time articulating. And so, but I do think it's worth mentioning because then looking at the nightmare that he experiences, as he transforms into his dad and everything becomes terrible around him, and this girl shies away from him because he is putting on the features of his father. At the very least, he feels genetically inferior to the people around him by virtue of his dad.
I mean, I agree with that.
I can see that.
Yeah, I want to point out one other thing about the nightmare, sort of before we move on, which is that there's little flourishes throughout this movie where it's Disney knows who they are, and so what I mean by that is so when you look at the nightmare, when the wheat field turns into Nightmare World, the Nightmare World is the bramble from Sleeping Beauty. The end of that, it's it's purple and black thorns everywhere. You can, it's unmistakably the end of Sleeping Beauty. So there's things like that in the movie where, again, little touches to some of their other stuff. So I'll moving this along. Max, of course, wakes up in a cold sweat. We find out he even wears those white gloves when he sleeps, which that just might be his hands. I don't know.
That's just how they're born.
Yeah. So he takes
there is a funny bit in an extremely goofy movie where they are talking about the gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah, the movie
At the coffee shop.
Yeah, that movie is not without its merits. It's just nowhere near as good as this one.
It has its moments, but moments don't make for a movie that makes me happy.
Nope.
I like that quote. So he gets a call
Write
from.
that down.
So he gets a call from on his Mickey phone from his best friend PJ, and in comes Goofy to like just vacuum up Max's dirty laundry that's everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Bright and early in the morning, just what every kid wants.
Hello? Hello?
Max, where the heck are you, man?
PJ?
You should have been here an hour ago.
What? What do you... Hold on. Oh,
Look, maybe we should just call the whole thing off.
no. No way, man. It's now or never.
You better get a move on. I'll meet you in my locker.
Morning, son.
Dad!
Oops, I forgot. Morning, son. Came to see if you had any dirty clothes.
Well, there they are. Help yourself.
Max, thought we talked about this.
Yeah, look, I'm sorry, Dad. I'll take care of it later.
Oh, what's the big rush?
I'm running late.
Ooh, I could drive you in on my way to work.
No thanks. I need the exercise.
Oh, come on, Max.
Oh, Dad, you ruined it.
Sorry about that. Who was he anyway?
It's only Powerline, Dad, the biggest rock star on the planet.
Oh, a lot bigger than Xavier Cugat, the Mambo King. Everybody Mambo! Boom, 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 boom.
Dad, come on, there's no time for this. Dad, what if the neighbors see us?
Right, and we get immediately we've got this awkward father-son dynamic, and
Awkward in general. Like Goofy comes in and like he's attired like a mom. Like he's got a towel up covering his covering his chest, and he's got a towel wrapped around his head as if he had like hair that was being dried at the time. So there's this feminine quality to Goofy that might be also something that like Max is resisting against.
He's a mother and a father.
Right.
Yep. And Goofy vacuums up. This is the other thing. They're pretty efficient in this movie of telling you things you need to know. So one of the things he almost vacuums up is this cardboard standee of Powerline, who is a pop star in this universe. And
the biggest rock star on the planet.
Indeed. He's kind of an amalgam of different things. The music is obviously patterned after stuff like Prince and Michael Jackson. I think the look of him, picture like Kid and Play, but wearing a Devo hazmat suit. That's basically
With like a
what
little touch of like Ziggy Stardust.
Yeah.
And you guys can't see this, but before we started recording, Case was kind enough to share a photo of himself as Powerline.
Yes.
Share it on the Instagram.
I'll shoot the picture over to Doug when this goes out. But it's as a big fan of Goofy Movie, I have cosplayed as Powerline at raves, which has been fun to do. I should also note that I like to go to raves and just like hang out with people. And I also enjoy cosplaying at cons. And I decided at one point just to combine those two efforts. So like anything that is thematic for like here's a big party kind of character, Powerline's a great one.
The other thing I believe in this phone call is when Max and PJ are talking about like, hey, Max, are you going to ask Roxanne out? Right? He's, have I got that right? This is where we're first
sort of. They talk
her.
about how this is the only way that he's going to get her attention.
There's just no other way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this leads into our first musical number, because this is a musical, and that is After Today.
They've been laughing since I can remember, but they're not gonna laugh anymore. No more Maxie the Geek, no more Goof of the Week like before.
No more algebra tests till September.
No more looking at losers like him. No more having to cheat.
No more mystery meat.
No more Jim. No more Jim.
No more gym.
No more Jim.
Gonna move to the mall.
Gonna live in the pool. Gonna talk to Roxanne and not feel like a fool. 'Cause after today, I'm gonna be cruising. After today, she'll be mine. After today, my brains will be snoozing. If I don't faint, I'll be fine.
I've got 40 more minutes of home economics.
And down with the textbooks. And up with the comics. Just I've been losing, finding the right thing to say. But things will be going my way after today. She looked right through me. And who...
Banger.
It's
Yes.
a banger, yeah. Insert clip here. This is very... This is like a little bit of like Grease or Bye Bye Birdie, like kind of this high school musical-y kind of number. And everybody's basically singing about how this is the last day of school and what they're going to do with their summer. See also Tiny Toons, How I Spent My Summer Vacation.
Yes.
Yeah, but we got to pause for a moment. So, like, I feel like when we talk about the Goofy movie soundtrack, you've got the 2 Powerline songs, which are great in their own kind of space, and then we've got the rest of the soundtrack because they're supposed to be like fake pop songs versus like here's the musical part. After Today is without a doubt my favorite song in this movie.
Same. I was about to, best song, favorite song. Got that whole ensemble going for you. The whole school sing along at one point. Just
Yeah.
perfect.
I will sing the lyrics to myself when I am doing anything that is, especially when I'm like excited about how like I just can't wait for today to be over kind of thing.
Me too.
It is a fantastic song for that. It's so cool. You've got like this whole cast of people, including weirdly Joey Lawrence.
Yes.
All like popping around here. It feels very high school. As a number, it's the most like big musical theater number in the whole piece. Like the rest of the numbers in here are, and by that I mean like when I try to picture this on stage, I can picture this number easily on stage, even though there's multiple set pieces and so forth that happen throughout the whole thing. You can imagine it as a stage piece. Things like On the Open Road, I have a harder time imagining not being on a car, you know? So like, how would you like stage that in a musical? And you could figure out a way, but like After Today is this big I Want song. And it's fantastic for the character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are 2 musical numbers that take place on a car.
Yeah.
In this
it's
movie.
It's mostly
You're
a
right,
road
pretty
trip.
hard.
Yeah.
I'll say I cosplayed as one of the goth girls on the bus in After Today.
No more pep rallies to cut.
Blah. Yeah, I went to this was in 2017 when El Capitan had like a Goofy movie playing. I went 3 times because 3 different people wanted to go with me because of who I am. And I went with my friend Danny Fernandez, who's a really big Goofy movie fan. And we dressed up for the first night. And she was going to be Roxanne. No, she wasn't Roxanne. She was the blonde girl, the blonde at the high school, because everyone thought she would be Roxanne. And I was like, everyone's going to think I'm going to be Roxanne too if I'm going. So I'm going to be a goth girl, which is easier to do. You just wear black and put a little thing on your nose.
Just for clarity's sake, this is podcasting legend Danny Fernandez or just a person named Danny Fernandez?
This is podcasting legend Danny Fernandez.
Wreck-It Ralph 2's Danny Fernandez.
Attendee of my wedding, along with Doug, Danny Fernandez.
Fantastic.
You did?
Yeah,
I didn't even know she was there.
Yeah.
So, okay.
It was a big room.
It was a big room. It was a lovely affair, by the way.
Thank you.
I'm very glad I was able to scoot away from the kids to do that. So yeah, we have this big number. It kind of ends with Max goofing it up by falling right in front of Roxanne. And she asks if he's okay. He can't talk at all. He just gives an A-hyuck and runs out of there. Which, I mean, we've all had this moment, some version of this, where it's like, there's the girl, there's the guy that I have the huge crush on, and I can't, my mouth can't do what I need it to do. Like, I'm just too afraid.
Mm-hmm. Only difference was there was no mutual feelings for my high school life with my Roxanne. No, I guess it would be more of a Rocco. There are many Roccos. It's fine.
Yeah, appropriate name, pulling from literature here if we're going to go that route. The woman that Cyrano de Bergerac likes,
yeah.
Right?
I was thinking about that when I was rewatching it this morning, where it's like that name, like Roxanne is such a weird name to choose. And like...
Because that's also like ambiguous, because it's like, that's like an adult name, but she can also just be an old soul.
Well, there's 2 associations you pull up, which is Cyrano de Bergerac or the whore that the police sang about. And you're probably not the second one.
Wait, wasn't Roxanne the name of the remake of Cyrano with Steve Martin?
Yes, excellent movie.
I was about to quote that one. Streaming free on Pluto TV.
So Max is beating himself up over this, and PJ comes along to cheer him up, his best bud. And they've got his
PJ voiced by Rob Paulson.
Love him.
Pause to note that. Now, so PJ is coming over from Goof Troop, both as a character who was created for Goof Troop, but also as the voice actor in this scenario. And Rob Paulson's so good.
His real life voice, I mean, all of his voices are good, but his real life voice is so soothing to me. It's just so suave.
I mean, this guy's been so many cartoon characters that you know. So he's Raphael from the original Ninja Turtles cartoon. He's Yakko and Pinky from Animaniacs, and many, many, many more. He has his own podcast. I don't know if he's still doing it, but I think it was called Talking Tunes or something.
Talking Tunes, yeah.
Yeah, worth a listen. Really
So
fun.
good.
He interviews other voice actors, and one of the best bits they do in it after a while, they'll take a classic scene from a movie, and then he and the other guy they'll cast themselves as characters they play in that movie. So if you want to hear like Pinky and the Brain in the car from Pulp Fiction, you know, a royale with cheese, brain, narf. Like you want to hear that.
The best funny clip to look up actually is Rob Paulson and Seth Green doing the end of Revenge of the Sith in, I think it's Pinky and then in Chris Griffin voice. And it is fantastic in that regard.
So good. Also,
I'll have the high ground. Yeah, something like that. It's that's really fun stuff. But yeah, you're right. Rob Paulson. They bring over most of the cast of Goof Troop, although Peg and Pistol, that's Pete's wife and daughter, are not anywhere to be seen.
Or their cat.
I forgot they had a cat. Yeah.
Gotta watch the Christmas special on VHS every year.
Exactly. So they're talking about their plans that involve this camera in some way, and we meet the other AV kid played by Pauly Shore.
Yep.
Yes.
I can't believe I did that. She finally says hi to me, and what do? I choke. Yuck. Like a big spaz.
Where have you been, buddy?
Hi, Peach. Did you get the camera?
Look, Max, if my dad catches me with this, he'll kill me. Are you sure we gotta do this?
It's my only chance, Peach. To Roxanne, I'm just a nobody. But after today... Bobby! Wow, look, all this is for us?
Slurpage.
Oh, this is gonna be so great, man.
Dude, need fundage, bro.
Oh, your feet. Yeah, right here.
Cheddar! Ah! Cheddar Wizard! It's pretty scrumptious. Let's do it, ladies.
Robert Zimmerowski.
Excuse me. Yes, Robert Zimmerowski.
Bobby.
And he's in like full, like they like do the like pausing bit that he was known for. So it's not even just like Pauly Shore playing a character. He is like doing the Pauly Shore voice and archetype for this. Did you guys know who he was at the time?
I did.
Was it just,
he was
okay.
I think we need to remember Pauly Shore was huge in the 90s.
Yeah.
And especially for like goofball comedies that like you know that like tier of comedies, like the Adam Sandler, Happy Gilmore kind of tier of comedies where it's like a little subversive for when you're on the younger side, but like not necessarily so bad that your parents are actually going to stop you from watching it.
Yeah, it's Son-in-Law, Jury Duty, those movies that he was in.
In the Army now, yeah.
And he can be bought for Cheese Whiz.
Yep.
Yes.
And so we don't know what they're cooking up exactly, but it's some sort of audio visual thing that they need their help with. And this leads us to an assembly, and last day of the school year assembly.
And now, without further ado, Principal Mayse.
Thank you, Stacy. And good morning, boys and girls. You know, every year on the last day of school, I have several youngsters approach me and say, Principal Mayse, what can we do to not waste our summer vacation? We don't want to waste our free time sleeping or visiting friends. How about science slumber parties?
I love this bit that like everyone's like rowdy and, having a good time. And then the second Principal Mayse walks out, like dead silence for this guy. And played by Wallace Shawn, who everyone knows from The Princess Bride and Toy Story, like the perfect
My Dinner
voice.
with Andre.
Of course, My Dinner with Andre. Case, you and I talked about him recently on because he's from The Incredibles.
Yep.
I was on Case's show talking about that. I've been watching The Princess Bride with my kids lately, and I got my son Ben to just walk around going, "Inconceivable!"
Yes, that's parenting done right.
Correct. So, anyway, he's the principal here, and of course, he plays a colossal dick.
Principal Maser, what can I do to not waste my summer vacation? How about science slumber parties? I'm sorry, Doug. I think you don't understand how much the two of us are just going to quote this movie.
It's going to happen. I feel empowered.
No, this is where you should feel empowered to do this. This is what this is for.
There's so much arcanum to be nostalgic about.
Exactly. That's what...
They said the title of the podcast in the podcast.
They said it. Yeah, so they do they do this presentation, and it's no one cares about what the principal has to say, you know, like they because like they I forget the friend's name of Roxanne's who is Stacy.
Stacy, who I also played in a Goofy movie themed RPG live stream.
Wow.
Yeah.
A nerdier sentence has rarely been uttered.
I was with Hyper RPG, also with podcast legend Danny Fernandez.
I hope there's footage of this. Or
I think there probably is. I'll send it to you if you want to post it.
For the record, I know that Danny has done a lot of stuff. She just first popped up on my radar when she was doing a show with If You Want Away. So
we go way back. We worked together on a now defunct BuzzFeed knockoff website. So we go way back.
One of the things that you mentioned, so you mentioned Stacy. I believe Stacy is played by another 90s staple, Jenna Von Oy.
Yes, great name.
From Blossom.
That makes 100% sense, and I don't think I ever looked at this one character that much, but that makes so much sense.
She's an icon. I mean, now she'd be such an icon. Bucket hats are back in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so this leads to what Max and PJ and Pauly Shore were planning, which was that they hack the AV system so Max can come out dressed as Powerline and do a big dance in front of all the students.
Let's. I need to pause because imagine like if you were in high school and this actually happened with like your equivalent of Powerline, it would not be cool.
No, it wouldn't. It also I was thinking about this, which is like it's also a lucky world where Powerline exists because like even the closest equivalents that we can come up with at the time, like let's say Michael Jackson, just as an easy scenario where Michael Jackson had like a peak of fandom and fame, and let's say this was like when Thriller.
Let's imagine Michael Jackson was famous.
Wow. Okay, I really have to open up my brain to let this one in.
Well, but I'm saying like even Michael Jackson isn't the celebrity that Powerline appears to be in this.
Yeah.
You know, like this is the entire high school is obsessed with Powerline, and I'm just not sure. I mean, I'm sure there's celebrities even now that sort of hit that point, but like. Fandom can be so much more niche. Like there's so many genres of music now. There's so much like to attend to. So he's lucky that he has a person that is like that cool that he can kind of reference. I did catch myself thinking about how like what was the actual plan here, because it appears to be that they're putting on the show like on the screens of the auditorium, like the presentation that they're doing, and then he stumbles out and like falls onto the actual stage and has to do it like live. So like I do find myself being like, well, they had a lot of like effects and so forth. Like, shouldn't they have done this like in advance and just like run it? It's movie logic that he has to be on camera while they're actually like doing these effects and so forth. But it's very cool. I would say Standout is my preferred Powerline song and second favorite in the movie after today.
Yeah, that's the name of the song that he's performing is Standout.
Yeah.
And I agree. Like I was trying to imagine like what is the scenario where this goes right? What is it supposed to look like? Because he said he's not supposed to be on stage. Like, was he going to ask Roxanne out at the end of it, or what was this going to be? But like, this definitely pinged shades of like doing embarrassing stuff in front of other kids.
I'm going to lip sync the greatest star in our high school, and then the girl I like is going to really want to be with me.
Mm-hmm.
Girls love lip syncs.
speaking as someone who has admitted on this podcast to performing the Bartman more than once in front of people, I don't have a leg to stand on. Now, granted, I was younger than Max when I did that. I was 10, but yeah, I this hit home a little bit.
Oh wow! Okay, so you're the one.
Yeah,
they wrote this for you, and you never even saw it until now.
I know. I'm sure there's lots of kids that embarrass themselves in some similar way.
I never embarrassed myself once, Doug. I was so cool.
That's not true. I met you doing improv. There's no one who's done improv who hasn't gotten there by doing shit like this.
No, I was doing that as a sociology experiment.
Well, I'm glad that you got the data you needed. All right, so they're busted. I love that he literally, this was like, doesn't he go out on like a hook, like flying over the audience?
Yeah, he like Peter Pans it.
Yeah, like stagecraft here, but he is busted when this all goes wrong. And now we cut to Goofy at his job. I don't know if we ever saw what Goofy's job was during the run of Goof Troop, if it was different than this or what.
I don't remember.
I just don't remember it that well. But yeah,
I vaguely recall him switching jobs in this, because I think he got a new job at the beginning of the first episode, and that's why he moves to Spoonerville. But is my recollection, but it's been a long time since I've watched Goof Troop.
Because I just thought this is the perfect job for him. Like, it's so like endearing, because what he's doing is he's the guy at the mall that takes the family photos. And he is there trying to get a little child to smile. And he, of course, kind of reminds me of the bit of like Mike Wazowski trying to get Boo to laugh. You know, it's like he's trying to get a reaction, but like he ends up doing something unintentionally even more hilarious by swallowing the squeak toy and stuff.
Come on, smile! Smiley Wiley! Oh, come on, Kimmy! Give me a big...
Stop goofing around. We got work to do.
Okay, Kimmy, back to mommy now. You're such a cute little good. Oh, come back and see me.
Oh, you have such a way with children.
You have such a way with children.
Okay, now. Who's next over here?
Step aside, Goof. Let a pro show you how it's done. Okay. Who's next over here? Oh, hello, precious. Oh! You lucky woman. Now, you come on here, honey. It's picture time. Come on. She is so cute.
Peekaboo!
Gosh, Pete, you sure are good with kids.
Oh, yeah, well, they love me. Why, PJ, he's been begging me to take him on vacation this summer.
Really?
And it's just really, really sweet until Pete, his overbearing neighbor, sort of friend,
voiced
sort of
perpetually
enemy.
by Jim Cummings. We should say that.
Who works at the same place as Goofy, but has like an RV and a boat. So is he just very like come for money, or is he in horrible debt?
I don't know, because in the show he ran a used car lot.
That's true.
That was his job. So I don't know what he's doing here. If he also owns the mall,
That's
he's definitely superior to Goofy.
What if his last name is Spooner, and that's why he's so rich? He's like the king of the town, Pete Spooner.
Well, factoid, the name Spoonerville, there was a person whose last name was Spooner who worked on the production of Goof Troop. He was the guy doing storyboards, I think. So that's why they call his name was Mark Spooner, so they called
Great
it
name.
Spoonerville. Yeah. Yeah, and I love that he's like, let me show you how it's done. And he tries to muscle in and like just terrifies the kid.
That's a good Pete.
Yeah. Thank you. He's the guy who does, God, he does so many voices.
He does. He's freaking Winnie the Pooh.
Mm-hmm.
He's Winnie, and Tigger too.
Darkwing Duck.
He's Darkwing Duck. Like he's like half the like background voices in any Disney. Like so, like in Aladdin, he's all the like guards and stuff. You know, the guy who's at the fruit stand who almost cuts Jasmine's arm off. He's been around forever, doing Disney voices.
He was the singing voice of Scar.
Mm-hmm.
In the
for
line.
Part of it,
for part of it. Like he bolstered the range because Jeremy Irons just is a stage actor and not necessarily a big Disney singer.
He's the Firefly from Princess and the Frog. You know, with that Cajun accent. I mean, again, a billion voice credits to this guy. He's great. And so,
and still doing Pete. Like they are doing modern Mickey Mouse stuff with Pete, and he is still doing that part.
Right. Once you're in for Disney, like you're in until you retire or die.
Yeah.
Like, they will keep you forever.
It's like being in the Supreme Court.
Yeah, there's only been 2 Donald Ducks in history, which is crazy.
Christ.
For all this time, only 2 people have done Donald Duck, the original and the guy who took over.
Listeners at home, figure out which one you can do a really good imitation of, and then find that voice actor, kill him, and then take the part, and then you're good. You're set for life.
It's also like being a Sith. You have to kill them.
Jim, I'll be waiting outside your house. Anyway. So Pete hits on this idea of like, you know, he's going to take PJ for a big old father-son fishing trip, going on vacation, and there's something wrong with a kid who don't want to spend time with his father. And Pete is like, he's usually more antagonistic. Here, he's not quite an antagonist to Goofy. He's more the like, whatever he says indirectly makes things worse because Goofy takes his bad advice to heart.
Yeah, he's the shit starter. He's the Iago in this. Like,
yes, he's the shit starter. That's it.
He finds information and he like uses it to twist the knife in the worst possible way. And it's not about making situations better. Even for him, he just loves drama. He's just a messy bitch.
And he's not even really trying. Like he's not thinking like, ha, this will fuck things up with Goofy and Max. He's like, no, I'm giving you what I think is good advice. And so I think that's what makes it work, which is like, he is causing shit without trying to. Like, you just know, like, oh no, he said the wrong thing to the dumbest character in the movie. This is going to be a problem. So now we go to the principal's office where they're getting a talking to, and even Roxanne's getting called into this sort of. She sees him on the way out.
No, she's just there. So it opens with PJ being dismissed from the principal's office, and he is like so shell shocked. He talks about how his dad's going to kill him, and that's sort of like a thing that because it's directly contrasted or like seen cut or juxtaposed. That's the word I'm looking for. Juxtaposed. It's directly juxtaposed with the scene with Pete talking about his relationship with PJ versus Max's relationship with Goofy. And then when we actually see how they are when we see PJ, he's like, my dad's gonna kill me, and like you see the terror in this child, and you sort of establish that the relationship isn't as good for Pete and PJ as Pete tries to present. And again, this movie is very economical with the shorthand that it uses to sort of set up those factoids.
Yeah. I like that when Max bumps into Roxanne on his way out, like you almost think things are going to go right. You know, like they're talking to each other now. He's helping her out, picking up her stuff. She tells him she liked his big dumb dance. He asks her out to a party and she says yes.
Gosh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Really. I liked your dance.
Yeah. Yeah? Yeah, it's from Powerline's new video.
I know, he's totally genius.
Yeah, he's doing a concert next week in LA.
Oh yeah, Stacy's showing it at her party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Roxanne, I was, sorta kinda thinking that maybe I'd, ask you to go with me, that is, to the party. Of course, if you don't want to, I'd completely understand.
Well, I was sorta kind of thinking that I'd love to.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good.
Great.
Terrific.
Wonderful.
All right.
Okay. Come on, Roxanne. We don't want to belabor the moment now, do we? Well, I better be going.
I'll, call you later.
Okay. Bye. Oh. Bye. See? That wasn't so bad. I told you men are easy to deal with.
Yes! She said yes!
You know, like everybody Mambo, like this should be all good, right? He's in theory, he's succeeded at this point.
Yeah, he gets to act like he's cool and be like, I'll call you later. And she goes, okay.
Like, oh, my cervix!
I never thought about these characters as having a suffix, but you're right.
But then I love when Roxanne and Stacy leave, Stacy goes like, see, I told you men are easy to handle, or something to that effect.
Yeah.
To deal with. I forget exactly. But it is just a reminder that like this whole big dumb show of things wasn't necessary. Like Max could have done this without it. But then we get, the actual encounter with the principal, where we don't actually see his like Max talk to Principal Mayse.
Yeah, we don't know how that conversation went.
No, we see the principal now call Goofy and basically, tell him your son is going to grow up to be a convict and get the electric chair because he's such a bad kid.
Hello. Yes, Mr. Goof. This is Principal Mayse. I'm calling in regard to your son, Maximilian.
Max? Oh my gosh, is he hurt?
No, Mr. Goof. He's in trouble.
Trouble? What kind of trouble?
Dressed like a gang member.
Gang member?
Your son caused the entire student body to break into a riotous frenzy.
Riot? Couldn't be mine.
If I were you, Mr. Goof, I'd seriously reevaluate the way you're raising your child before he ends up in the electric chair.
The electric chair? What am I gonna do?
Blue light special on aisle 3. Blue light special on aisle 3.
And he uses certain keywords. Like he uses dress like a gang member. He starts a riotous frenzy. And both of those are things that Pete had said previously, where it's like, he'll be hanging out with gangs and getting into riots and stuff.
That's pretty good too.
Yeah, wow. I gotta work on my, I'm Pete! There we go, that's perfect.
We're going camping. Nothing like the great outdoors to strengthen the bond between a father and son. That sounds good.
Yeah, right. He says he needs to reevaluate things before he winds up in an electric chair. And Goofy is just terrified by all this. He can't believe what he's hearing.
I would have reported him to the school board. I'm like, that's a horrible thing to say about anything that a kid did wrong.
Yeah, which, by the way, what did he do wrong? He did a dance.
He lip sang.
Yep. Yeah, he lip synced. The ultimate crime.
And this is the first point where the movie is really like, God, these two just aren't going to communicate with each other. And that's why this drama happens.
Yeah, normally this bothers me in a movie where it's just like, if you two would just say one sentence, you would solve the entire movie.
Communication.
But in this case, this is what the movie's actually about, so it doesn't cause. I'm okay with it here. But yeah, so Goofy's trying to figure out what to do, and then we get that scene you mentioned earlier with the blue light special.
Blue light special on aisle 3.
This might as well be like, God shining a ray on, on an idea. But basically, it's this blue light special that's shining a blue light on these like little figurine Funko Pops of like somebody.
Oh
fishing.
my God, the original Funko Pop.
Yeah, they're bobblehead fishing toys that kind of look like Goofy, or really like kind of look like Max.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little bit. So yeah, he just he wants to go off to Lake Destiny, Idaho. I'm going fishing with my boy.
Fishy, fishy,
runs
fishy.
off. Yep. And then this girl is just, I have in my notes, girl runs pantsless, which is another of these like kids that he's trying to take pictures of. And she's trying to like, I know that came out weird.
That came out wrong.
All right, we're going to be put on a list.
All right. Sorry. Pete has been trying to take pictures of the kids for their job, and she has been so mischievous that she's like wound up just running off crazy.
All right. Okay. All right.
Since this is not a visual medium, I'll have to correct this as best I can.
We're just cutting all of this.
Cut.
Really, it's really weird. We said blue light special and then immediately cut.
Yeah. This is what happens when I'm taking notes on a movie I don't know very well. I just literally was like, girl, no pants. Fine. Moving on. School lets out. And now this is the most unrealistic thing in the movie. Everybody loves Max.
Yes.
They think this was the coolest thing that ever happened. Not because he was cool as Powerline, but mostly because he caused a giant ruckus, which that part of it was cool to everybody.
Right. And if you are coming at this movie not aware that this is all uncool, this seems like the coolest moment. You know, like the trailer focused on this scene specifically. Like the trailer is like, Max is the coolest kid in school. Call you later. Okay, Max. Like that's how the trailer goes. So like they show this sequence here. And this reprise of Stand Out is a like really fun moment for this like 90s extremist character. Like he actually is pulling off like the stuff, this like Ferris Bueller style like trip home.
I have in my notes is he Ferris Bueller's Home. Yeah.
Another character that was cool and lip sang.
Also true.
Good point. Yeah. So he's high on life. Like everything is somehow miraculously gone right. He pulled off the show. It's summertime. The girl wants to go out with him. Like life is good. And as soon as he gets home, he runs smack into Goofy, who is packing for a big vacation.
Going somewhere, Pop?
Sure are, pal Rooney.
Cool. Well, have a good time, Dad. If you're going to be gone more than a month, drop me a line.
But Max, this isn't just my vacation. It's a vacation with me and my best buddy.
Oh, Donald Duck?
No, silly. With you. Are you okay, Maxie?
What did you say?
That's right. A vacation, son. We'll spend some real quality time together.
I think I'm going to be sick.
Hey, got a present for you.
No, Dad, stop. I can't with you. I got things to do.
You look just like I did at your age.
Please don't say that, Dad.
Wait, I saved the best for last. It's been handed down from goof to goof to goof. And now, it's yours, son.
A stick?
No, silly. A fishing pole.
Fishing? We're going fishing?
Yup, just like my dad and me did. Two best buddies fishing on Lake Destiny. Away from it all.
I don't want to be away from it all, Dad. I like it all.
Hey, look, Maxie, we're using the same map me and my dad used. We'll take the same route and make the same stops and see the same sights.
But that trip would take weeks, Dad.
Exactly. Getting there's half the fun.
And we find out this is now the plan. Goofy is not going to listen to Max. We're all going on a big fishing trip to Lake Destiny, and we're going to follow the same map that he and his father took when they made this fishing trip. So that'll be important later, that there's this map that shows the way they're supposed to go, which is a giant squiggle from somewhere in the East Coast, wherever Spoonerville is, to Lake Destiny, Idaho.
Very inefficient route, but
yes,
that's the Goofy way.
Mm-hmm. And I like that Goofy like tries a guilt trip on him, and it's like no sale. Like Max is like, no, I don't want to go, And Goofy just like there's no time. Like Goofy like throws him in the car, and they're gone. Like no time for Max to even pack his own clothes.
Yeah, and this is where the movie kind of has this is the spot where it's just like they don't fucking talk to each other. And like that's where the drama is a problem, because like Goofy's already made up his mind. They don't talk about why. Like they never have a conversation about his, like, aside from like, I don't want you to end up on the electric chair. Like they don't have a moment of Goofy being like, what happened at school today? Like he never hears Max's side of the story.
Yeah, he could have just said, hey, I'd love to go on this fishing trip with you. Can we push it back 1 week so I can go on a date?
Just one
That's
week.
It.
We can plan better hotels.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right. So they drive, but Max does convince Goofy to drop by Roxanne's house on their way out so he can try and do what he can to salvage this. And I like that her dad is just like, what if we took Pete and made him even more scary? Like just, just this guy just basically just glowers at him. Love it.
Yeah, and we've seen this dad. Like every young man knows this dad. Maybe it might be a dad that they've created in their head about some actual dad, but like it's a dad that everyone has created in their head and perceived of like, oh, I'm terrified of this man, like because he has like control over the person that I love.
I have a daughter. Someday I'm gonna have to do this.
You're gonna open the door wearing a wife beater, and you're just gonna grunt.
No, it's gonna be like, I'm Winnie the Pooh. What else have I got?
Are you here to take my daughter out? Oh, bother.
Yeah. So this is where Max he's going to try and explain things, but he makes things infinitely worse by saying, well, I can't go to the party with you because what I have to do is go on this road trip to LA with my dad, go backstage at the Powerline concert that everyone's excited to watch this weekend, and I'll go on stage and wave to you. So it's not just like I'm going to come up with a lie. He comes up with an impossible lie.
I promise he'll be better behaved when you pick me up for the party.
Yeah, that's, sort of why I came by.
I'm really looking forward to it, Max.
Yeah, I was, too.
Was?
You see, my dad's on this stupid father-son kick, and...
Well, don't worry about it, Max. It's just a dumb party.
No, it's not. Roxanne, I really wanted to go with you.
Max, I understand.
But my dad
really,
surprised me.
Okay.
I don't
These
even
things
want to
happen.
go, but I have no choice.
I'm sure I can find someone else.
Someone else?
I'll just talk to you later.
Roxanne, my dad's taking me to the Powerline concert in L.A.
Your dad's taking you clear across the country just to see a concert?
Well, you see, my dad, knows Powerline. They used to play together in a band. Yeah.
Come on, son. Let's get this show on the roll.
Just a minute. You party animal, you.
You're really serious.
Absolutely. So, you aren't still thinking of going with someone else, are you?
Well, I guess.
Because I was hoping I could, wave to you on stage when we join Powerline for the final number.
This is incredible.
Well, I wouldn't miss our date for anything that wasn't incredible, Roxanne.
Mwah. Have a great time at the concert, Max.
Man.
I'll see you on TV.
I'm in deep sludge.
There's so many other lies he could have been like. He could have been like, I got this family emergency with my dad. Can we go on a date the weekend after this weekend? Like, men.
Yeah. I will say she does make it slightly worse for him by saying, I guess I can find someone else to go with, which isn't necessarily a boy, but comes off that way to him especially. And yeah, that creates a little bit of this drama here.
True.
But again, Max just doesn't fucking talk to people about like his real feelings and the real situations. Like doesn't go with the truth. Thinks he has to like bluster and like come up with like a big lie that like, you know, will wow people as opposed to actually trying to do like honest communication.
Just be yourself, Max. You're enough. Are you listening, Max? Max? Max?
Yeah, this is so real to me too. Just that idea of like, you know, especially when you date someone and you're a kid and you go on a date and you're like, oh God, please don't let anything mess this up. No one will ever go out with me ever again.
Mm-hmm. The stakes are so high. Like, it just feels like everything.
Yep. And that's exactly. She says, oh, I'll find somebody else to go to the party with. And he hears like, I don't need you anymore. You know, that you thought you had it in the palm of your hand and now it's gone, you know, all that. So they go out on the open road. Goofy is driving and filming at the same time. Max is pretty mopey. So Goofy has a big list of games to play. How about 20 questions? This leads to a battle over the music, and the music are 8-track tapes, which I was very delighted to see because my dad had a car with an 8-track player in it when I was very young. Mm-hmm. And in fact, we had a ton of 8-track tapes in the house that my dad held on to for quite a long time.
Aw.
So,
what a precious little memory, Doug.
Yeah. Have you guys ever seen an 8-track tape and held in your hand?
I've seen an 8-track, but I've never even like played one. I've just seen the tapes. I've seen a player for it.
My mom's car had an 8-track and it had a car phone. Not to brag, but
no, like in the 80s, that would have been
it was pretty cool.
That is very cool for an 80s car to have that. That's like the kind of thing that like the villain in an 80s movie would have in his car.
Yes, that's my mom. No, she's an angel.
No, she didn't demolish the community center.
No, she didn't. She just loved me.
Okay. Yeah, they're basically what an 8-track tape player, an 8-track is. It's they're bulky. They're kind of like the size of an NES cartridge, roughly, to use another 80s analog. But like that's about that big. And the only innovation they have is that unlike old cassette tapes, which actually came later, cassette tapes you'd have to flip over to play the other side or rewind. An 8-track tape is a Mobius strip, so it would play continuously. You never have to turn it over. That was the innovation. Anyway, cool. So now that there's no music, they have to entertain themselves. And so we get some diegetic noises that turn into the next musical number, On the Open Road.
Do you need a break from modern living? Do you long to shed your weary load? If your nerves are raw and your brain is fried, just grab a friend and take a ride together on the open road. Come on, Maxie!
All in all, I'd rather have detention. All in all, I'd rather read a toad. An old man drives like such a klutz that I'm about to hurl my guts directly upon the open road.
There's nothing can upset me, 'cause now we're on our way. Our trusty map will guide us straight and true.
Roxanne, please don't forget me. I will return someday. Though I may be in traction when I do.
Me and Max relaxing like the old days.
Stand dragon breath and
buddy kind of
mad. I think I may
when explode. When I see that highway, I could cry.
You know, that's funny. So could I just be
out on the open road.
And I want to be clear, just because I have said that I have been, my two favorite tracks in this movie have already been played, that doesn't mean that the rest of these aren't bangers. Like, On the Open Road is great.
All bangers.
I sing this all the time when we're like going on car trips.
I would say, I mean, I don't want to like derail anything, but can we like talk about the nuns that appear in, I think their first appearance is On the Open Road.
No, their first appearance is in the Kmart.
Oh, you're right. Okay. That's like their first, like when I clock them, I'm like, oh, and then they just keep appearing. They're the backbone of that movie. What's their story?
For real, especially because they're showing up at the Powerline concert. So On the Open Road is, however, the time where we get a real list of here's all the extras that are going to be popping up throughout the movie, because they're all parts of this song, and then they just keep on reappearing. So like we mentioned the nuns, but yeah, like there's just like a whole bunch of just random people on the road trip that you'll just keep on seeing their faces.
They're all going on the same road trip.
And I think, is there one car that, like, you're seeing like them singing, all these cars around them full of people that are singing. One of them is like, what are they, vampires or zombies or something? There's some like supernatural.
There's a hearse that drives by and the coffin opens up and it's like, and the cares we had are gone for good. And like the skeleton pops up. But like whether or not that's like, it's a zombie in a song. I guess it's kind of, was the Skeleton's Dance the one that just became public domain from Disney?
Oh yeah, I think it's called the Skeleton Dance.
Yeah, don't know if it's a nod necessarily, but it's just, you know, we're in musical theater time, so even the corpse in the hearse is going to participate in the song.
Yeah, that's one of the things I loved about this part of it was just that like kind of Zucker Brothers energy of just like weird shit's gonna happen. It's okay. So we go through this number and. We get some like driving on the wrong side of the road kind of shenanigans, but Goofy says he's taking Max somewhere special, which turns out to be Lester's Possum Park.
Yes.
Which is sort of like a hillbilly version of Chuck E. Cheese.
Or like Country Bear Jamboree.
Yeah.
I'm just going to wait right here in the car.
You party pooper. Come on. This is going to be fun.
Oh, howdy there, folks. Lester's is proud to present the Possum Posse Jamboree. Here it is.
Just in time.
Howdy, folks. Who's your favorite possum?
Got us a seat right up front.
Let me introduce you to the posse. Here's Buford, Beulah, and Mordecai.
Hey, Lester, ready for yodeling?
Sure am, Buford.
Now gather round, my possum pals, join the jamboree. Come hoot and howl and holler from the heart.
This is pathetic.
Help by helping out a yodel here at Lester's Possum Park.
Join in, folks. It's yodeling time.
No way. Lester's Possum Park.
Yeah, it's this animatronic show with these possum characters that have seen better days.
Yes.
I thought this was really fun. Like, because Goofy's so excited because I'm sure he went here when he was a kid, right, on the road trip with his dad, and maybe 25 years ago, these animatronics were somewhat functional, but now they're just like sparking and glitching and horrifying.
Yeah, Mordecai won't even fully pop up in the scene. And then there's a point where the song starts to loop and the guy who's running it has to like hit it, where it's like, Possum Park.
Yeah.
Sorry, sometimes you just can't help but finish it.
You can't.
No, just being here is embarrassing. And I believe the guy who runs it is voiced by Pat Buttram.
Oh.
Who, so he's a guy who like did a million Westerns and stuff, but he's best known as a Disney character. He is the Sheriff of Nottingham.
That's right.
From Disney's Robin Hood. And this was his last role.
Ah.
Well,
Aww.
nice to get him in there one more time.
Yeah.
But he sort of talks like this.
Oh, yeah,
that
he's in
guy.
Back to the Future 3 also. That's,
Yeah.
Just more VHSs that I can think about.
Like I said, a million Westerns with this
So
guy.
good.
He's a great actor. And we have this scene where like the guy in the giant possum suit tries to give Max a big hug, and he is like all kinds of like done with this. And this leads to kind of a sad, like awkward moment of like a fight, and then like there goes Dork and Dork Jr. Like it's just this all goes sideways.
But I wanted one of those possum hats so bad.
I bet you can get one.
Oh my God, Etsy, I'm gonna look.
Yep.
Yeah, rewatching it, I was shocked at how mean Max is to the performer in the Lester possum suit. It is the kind of thing that feels like, man, when you were 14 and you just are so antisocial and so like done with all the kid stuff, where it's like, don't you just wish you could just like smack the Chuck E. Cheese actor?
Mm-hmm.
But in retrospect, it's like, man, Max is being a bit of a brat.
This poor guy's making minimum wage at the roadside possum place. Give him a break. Yeah. So Max tries to go back to the car. It's raining. He wants to hitchhike or something. Like he's just had all he wants is to go fix things with Roxanne, and Max just unloads on Goofy.
Max! Hey, what the heck you trying to do?
Trying to get away from you.
Me? What'd I do?
Forget it.
I thought we was having fun. What's the matter?
Nothing. Let's just go. Well, come on.
Oh, you dropped your hat.
This is the stupidest vacation. You drive me from home, you jam me this dumb car, then drive 1,000,000 miles away to see some stupid rat show. Call me when the trip's over.
And they just sort of drive away from this possum hat they've left in the road. But like, this is like, again, like a surprising amount of heart and pathos from these Goof Troop characters. Like they've decided to really push them to this level.
Tragic.
Yeah, I was like, when I watched this scene, I was like, okay, I can see why, people are so, over the moon for this movie, because like this is not something you expect from a Goof Troop movie.
Yeah, a lot of heart.
So let's see. So they go to practice fishing. Max doesn't want to do it. And Goofy pitches a tent. And we hear Ride of the Valkyries as Pete and his mega transforming RV show up to the exact same campsite location. And which is good. They need to find an excuse to get Pete and PJ back into the movie. And so here they are to check in on how things are going on the Goofy and Max side of the road trip.
So tell me, Goof, is that kid of yours still giving you guff?
I don't know what's wrong. Just seems like everything I try only drives Max further away. Maybe I ought to just back off. I don't know.
Wrong, Goof. Look, if you keep them under your thumb, they'll never end up in the gutter.
Too bad, Pete. Almost.
Almost? Watch this. PJ!
Here, sir. Coming, sir. Yes, sir.
Woo-hoo! Strike-ola! Yeah! Thank you! Yes! And the crowd goes wild. High five, son! Psych! Say, Goof, why don't you two stay for dinner?
Cool.
Oh, no thanks, Pete. Max and I have some fish to catch.
Oh, Dad, we can do that tomorrow. So, what are we having?
But Max, I thought...
Under your thumb, Goof.
Maximilian.
What?
Get your gear, little man. We're going fishing. And I mean now.
Yeah, I love their RV. The idea of a bowling alley on top is, I find, ludicrous.
So cool.
But at the same time, it's so great.
Cool.
Like, I want one.
They would have been like, now like RV life is like such a cool niche on TikTok of people being like, look at my tiny RV home. And they would be so famous.
Yeah.
It's in keeping with Pete's character from the show as well. I think he was always kind of going, hey, Goof, I got the new top of the line, whatever,
yeah.
Showing him something like that just to be impressive and rich. So they're good. Max and PJ are talking about, how things went at high school, and, everyone's talking about the big power line thing. And while they're having that conversation, Max lets him know about the big lie he told Roxanne. And they have to figure out what they're going to do about this problem. Meanwhile, Goofy is talking to Pete, more, sage parenting advice from Pete. And basically Pete tells him just rule with an iron fist. That's his advice.
Under your thumb, Goof.
Yeah, that was it. Under your thumb.
Yeah, as you said before, when it's interesting to see the relationship that Pete and his father have versus the relationship Max and Goofy have under normal circumstances, not this, but it's not, Pete's advice is not working for him and PJ at all.
Yeah, PJ's terrified, and PJ only is doing work for him. We open this sequence with PJ buffing the floors of the RV, and then when they're bowling and Pete hits 9 out of 10 pins, he shouts for PJ, and he runs up and it's like, yes, sir, yes, sir. He's terrified of his dad, and understands just at finger pointing that go cheat for me is the way, the way that Pete is guiding him. So we see that the relationship is not good.
That's right, Marbles.
I
don't know if the audio picked that up.
I really hope he is. I closed the door and he's poking his little nose in the crack, and he's just he's so pissed that he's not in here. But he would just be all over my face if he were. So, Marbles, my dog, he's great.
Yep, he is great. Non-sentient dog, but very sweet. So yeah, Goofy decides, all right, I'm going to teach my son the perfect cast, which is the family method for catching fish.
Dad, I don't even know how to fish.
Oh, now, come on. That never stopped me. Let me show you a little family secret handed down through about 12 or 13 Goof generations. The perfect cast.
The perfect what?
The perfect cast. My dad taught it to me when I was about your age. Okay, now, watch carefully. You gotta be loose, relaxed, with your feet apart. 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 2:45, 2 you tay, twist, over, pot of do, I'm a little teapot, and the wind up. Huh? And let her fly! The perfect cast.
And it's this elaborate, series of moves that ends with him basically fly fishing the lure way out into the water. And he hooks the steak that Pete is cooking with this, which leads to essentially them luring in a Sasquatch. Oh, sorry, not yet. He hooks Pete's stake into a Sasquatch footprint, so we know that like Sasquatches are in play. And he then like reels in a Bigfoot, and this leads to like running, screaming. The RV collapses. The camera is destroyed that they were trying to take pictures of the Sasquatch with, and they just hole up inside Goofy's car for the night while Sasquatch just kind of hangs out on top. Like, not something I would have seen coming in this movie. But a fun, like really funny idea to just like, let's just introduce a Bigfoot into this.
Mm-hmm. He's dangerous, but he also likes to throw on little puppet shows.
Yeah, that's a great like, because time has gone by and it's now night. And they're like, is he gone yet? And like he's like with socks like in front of the windshield.
Peak comedy, so good.
Yeah, when he's doing "Staying Alive" in the background, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, little Walkman.
Knowing the way that movies come together, animated movies come together, they're often like storyboard driven more than script driven. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if someone was just like, okay, I had this crazy idea for a Sasquatch, and they're just like, yeah, put it in there. It's funny and weird because like I don't remember the show having that kind of an element, but it's been a very long time since I watched Goof Troop.
It did, guys, in the holiday special. They like encounter like another type of Sasquatch and like they all go camping. I'm not gonna give the whole plot, but they're all camping in the woods. And there's a Sasquatch, and they have to get him to not attack them by doing the reindeer dance, which was Max's Christmas dance. But he's getting too old for it. But he's like, wait, we can do the reindeer dance to make him like us.
Okay, that came first, right? The Christmas special?
Yeah.
Okay, so then they're like, oh, let's bring the Sasquatch back.
I don't know if it's the same Sasquatch. I'll have to double check, but it's they have elements of Sasquatch throughout the Goofy cinematic universe.
So there's at least one, if not multiple Sasquatches in play. That's awesome. So they spend the night in the car, and Mac's stomach is growling, so now we get a heartfelt moment as Goofy's like, I'm going to heat up some soup for you with the cigarette lighter in the car. And... I just love this. Like, hey, do you remember this? Hi, Dad.
Yeah, I know.
This is really sweet.
Oh, it's so sad, and like in like that like sad dad kind of way.
It's really sweet.
What's so funny?
Hi, Dad soup.
Huh?
Oh, don't tell me you don't remember Hi, Dad soup. Oh, come on. Sure you do. You used to spell things out using the letters like Hi Dad or Maxie or...
Ambidextrous?
Yeah, that's... No. Little words like...
Hasta la vista?
Like bye-bye.
Or I pledge allegiance.
Or I love you.
Is it soup yet?
Almost forgot.
Whoa, where'd you learn to do that?
Your granddad taught me that when we went to Yosemite.
You two did a lot together, huh?
Yup. Max,
Dad, listen, I'm sorry.
How's the soup?
Not bad. I'm not... What?
Nothing. Well, we might as well get some shut-eye. I don't think we're going anywhere tonight.
God damn it, Disney!
I've done stuff like that where my kids are like, hey, do you remember this adorable thing you used to do when you were 2? And my daughter's like, no.
Oh,
well, of course you don't. You were 2.
You didn't have the ability to form memories yet, but
Yeah. So the bit was that Max would spell out like Hi Dad in alphabet soup. And so Goofy opens the can of soup with his teeth, which looks like I could feel that. That looks horrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a funny, like, cartoony kind of gimmick, but at the same time, you're like, ooh, like teeth pains are like the kind of pains that like really resonate for me in like cartoons. Like when someone's tooth is like hurt, you're like, oh, I know what that feels like because I've had root canals. I've had all these. Like, yeah.
And we all have that nightmare where all our teeth fall off, so it just hits too close.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's just me.
Well, it's certainly not Max, because his nightmare is that his teeth get bigger. So
Yeah, it's true. Well, that's step one.
So we think they're reconciling because he writes "Hi, Dad" in the soup like he used to. And Goofy falls asleep. But while Goofy's asleep, Max pulls out a postcard to Roxanne and he writes one version where he's like, yeah, things are going awesome. And then he crosses that out, writes another version, which is sorry, I lied. And then he decides not to do either of them. He just tears the thing up. And while he's sitting there with the pencil, he accidentally knocks the glove box open and the map falls out. And he's like, well, I could redraw the line on the map to take us to Los Angeles, where the Powerline concert is, instead of to Lake Destiny, Idaho, which he ends up doing. And
this is another spot where his plan doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, the map is so curvy. Add LA as a stop. Like,
yeah. It doesn't have to be the end point.
But then Goofy has a moment of lucid talking, and it's one of the greatest movie quotes in the world, which is, how many cups of sugar does it take to get to the moon?
Yeah, you think he's about to like
wake up and be like, what are you doing? Yeah. Instead it's that, and oh, so good.
Yeah. So it's the next morning. They go to a diner, and eggs for Max, giant stack of pancakes for Goofy.
Those eggs look so good.
Yeah, Goofy senses something's wrong, and so he decides to dub Max the official navigator and witch-awayer of the trip.
Max, I think we need to talk about this.
Huh?
Seems to me you need to start taking some responsibility around here. Excuse me, can I have your attention, please? I, Goofy, hereby dub my son, Maximilian, official navigator and head witchwayer of this here road trip.
Isn't that nice?
Oh! Seriously?
Well, I'm not even looking at the map anymore. As a matter of fact, you can pick all the stops from here to Lake Destiny. I trust you wholeheartedly, son. To the open road.
To the open road.
And you see those nuns.
And he won't even check the map anymore.
How convenient.
We're now in clear, like we've set up all of the dominoes for problems now for what's going to happen later. And so we get a montage of like, well, let's make the road trip fun. And it's like jet skiing and, flat tires and roller coasters and monster trucks. And,
baseball game.
Yeah. Fun.
Well, and as the montage goes, like Max first is like able to do things that he finds fun, and then he starts seeing that his dad's not having fun, and so he starts mixing in stuff for his dad, like the world's biggest ball of yarn, and that, this is how they're bonding. Like this is a great sequence of them slowly coming to understand the types of things that the other side likes.
Mm-hmm. I like when they go to Carl's Butt Caverns. Second great butt joke of the movie.
Yes. One thing I'll point out, just as another like animation thing. So at one point they're in what is clearly New Orleans, and there's a mime there. I think the design, like the background that's behind them, it sure looks a lot to me like New Orleans Square in Disneyland.
Yeah.
I assume that's what they're referencing. At least it's a little blurry of a background, but my brain immediately went there of like, boy, that looks like New Orleans Square.
I think New Orleans Square just looks like New Orleans, though.
Well, it does, but I mean, like specifically the building.
That's what I tell myself every time. I'm like, oh, it's New Orleans, Eileen.
Yeah.
Don't be silly.
Yeah. So they end up at the Neptune Inn, which, like, as themed hotel rooms go, this is way more like production value than you expect from it. Like, because the entire room is like aquatic on the inside. It's really cool. And everybody's getting along, and then Pete shows up again to hook up their RV to their hotel room with what, I don't know if they're like draining the septic tank, because it's not like an electrical cord. It's like a big tube.
Yeah.
Well, he describes it as a tiny little extension cord. You won't even notice. And then it's this gigantic tube that's like bursting water at various spots and like takes up the entire room.
It's just disposing of all their shit, literally, into the motel. That's nice. That's a good way to get banned from a motel.
Yep. But things are about to go bad because PJ and Max are talking, and Max tells him what he did with the map. And Pete overhears this, walks over to Goofy, who's just hanging out in the spa. And Pete tries to tell him Max is lying to you, and Goofy doesn't want to hear it.
I just hate to be the bearer of bad news, but,
What is it, Pete?
Your kid's duping you.
What do you mean?
Well, I heard the little mutant telling PJ that he changed the map, so you're heading straight to L.A., pal.
What?
Oh, you tried, Goof. He's just a bad kid, that's all.
I don't believe you.
What?
I don't believe you, Pete.
Well, hey, don't take my word for it. Check your map.
I don't need to check the map. I trust my son. You know, maybe Max isn't all the things that you think a son should be, but he loves me.
Hey, my son respects me.
Yeah.
Check the map, Goof.
And he trusts Max, but then he eventually goes over to the car and can't help himself, and he checks the map. And like this whole sequence of, again, Bill Farmer, Goofy for my entire adult life, mostly, doing standard silly Goofy clown stuff, is now being called upon to do like Goofy has been wounded in his soul, and it works.
Yep. And it does a really good job of really contrasting the parenting styles between Goofy and Pete. Because we see how good things have gotten between Goofy and Max at this point, and Goofy uses the phrase, like, he loves me, like, we love each other. And Pete goes, my son respects me. And like that's the difference in how they see the point of the relationship.
Yeah, and implying, of course, that Max does not respect you. And you need to be respected, and the way you do that is, of course, by laying down the law and being strict and everything else.
Well, but also that Pete doesn't care about being loved.
Yeah, love is the most important thing.
It's not even relevant. Like his whole point is like, hey, like, yeah, you've got love. Who cares? My son respects me. And your son doesn't respect you. He's doing this thing. And like that, again, that juxtaposition right there, like Pete is bad news every single time he shows up. Like he is something to like gum up the works in some way. And this is the time where he has the biggest opportunity to do so. Like, again, we said that he's the shit starter, where he's like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, Goof. Like that's a spot where, yeah, he has this information and all he's going to do is make it worse.
Yeah. And it's not an either or either, like, because the fact that Max doesn't respect Goofy is that's driving a lot of the plot. He's embarrassed as shit by his goofy dad. In theory, you should have both, respect and love. And even then, like Pete's conception of respect is not really what you think of when you think of respect. It's fear.
Yeah.
That's what he's got. Right. So they're back in the room. Goofy looks just disillusioned, right? He's just, got the 1,000-yard stare. And he just lies down, and PJ shows himself out. He knows something's
whispering, power line.
Yes.
And then going off to digest that delicious cheese pizza.
Yep. That pizza looks so goddamn good. The cheese is so melty.
So good. So gooey. Ugh.
Cartoon pizza, unless it's like the Ninja Turtles pizza, which is always covered in like jelly beans and shit. Cartoon pizza generally looks pretty
this
good.
is actually an infamously delicious pizza, though. So we should spend at least a moment just being like, this is.
Yeah, just take a moment to like give it its respect.
Yeah. You can smell it. You can practically smell it.
As like a Chicagoan, just like a good cheese pull on a pizza is everything.
Mm-hmm. So they're driving in silence. And Goofy is just kind of waiting for Max to say something because he's the navigator, and they're coming up to a junction, literally the fork in the road. One goes to Idaho, the other one goes to Los Angeles. And he's like, wait, Max, you got to tell me which way you want to go.
Right or left.
Right or left. And they wait till the absolute last possible second. Yep. And so they screech to the left. Goofy pulls over at like a turnout and just gets out of the car and stares off into the southwest.
Right before that, so after the parting of ways, but before they pull off, Max realizes that things are really bad and tries to do, like, do you want to play a game? Tries to do 20 questions kind of stuff, like has reversed roles with his dad beforehand. So it's also important just to mention that callback right there.
Yeah, that's a good point. And now they have a interesting like argument where stuff starts to come out, and Goofy literally says something like, "Well, I'm probably too stupid to understand anyway." Like, on some level, he's aware of like
he knows who he is.
He knows who he is. He's like, he is stupid, but he's not as stupid as you sometimes think he is. You know, like, and that like, again, that's that balancing act of how they play him here.
Dad, listen, about my directions. Will you listen to me? I gotta tell you something, Dad.
Why bother? I'm probably too stupid to understand anyway, right?
Forget it. Hey, the car!
What? Now you want to drive too?
No, Dad, the car! Look!
The car! What do you do now, Max?
I didn't do anything, Dad. I only touched it.
You locked it!
I locked it? It's your door. You locked it.
Well, you distracted me.
Whoa! You should have put the brake on.
Why don't you just put it on yourself?
See? You ruin everything.
You ruined my vacation!
I ruined it? I never wanted to go on this stupid vacation!
Well, and regardless of how stupid you are, you still deserve to be treated like a person with respect. You know, he's still his dad. Like all those other, all the things that Goofy is like, has his own anxieties about, like his own like personal insecurities about, like those, like that doesn't invalidate his role as a loving father who's only done what in his perception has been trying to do good things for his son. And for his son to betray him that way is like, regardless, like I think it makes all of those insecurities even worse. And for Goofy, it probably makes him feel like all the things that are valuable about as a person are invalidated. Yeah, it's a really hurtful spot. And you know, when you're watching it, I think regardless, if you're watching it from the Max's lens or Goofy's lens, like you see how fucked up the situation is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think this movie works. You know, whether you're coming at it from Max's point of view or Goofy's, like both of them realize like they've done something to hurt the other person, and but a real wound, like not a superficial wound, like an actual, like you've really hurt me. And again, to be able to mine this from Max and Goofy is pretty impressive. Huge credit, especially to Bill Farmer, who's got, I think, the harder lift here, because Goofy is the sillier character to try to make this work with 60 plus years of Disney baggage, with him.
Yeah, like we get a real Goofy being angry sequence here, which is a hard thing to do, like to do that Goofy voice and like convey all of this emotion and have justified anger. Like when they are like both the actual argument, but then when they're like chasing the car in the next sequence, like Goofy is jumping to conclusions to be mad at his son. And these are all like the kinds of ways that I think we all understand that when we're angry, we are going to jump and say those kinds of things. And it's out of character for Goofy, but it's in character for the moment. And it is a remarkably difficult performance. So again, just like tons of props to Farmer.
Yeah, it's just a testament to like voice acting. It's more than just doing a voice. You have to like have the acting behind it. You have to like filter those emotions. So Bill, if you're listening, I know you are, because you love all three of us. We write you love notes every single day. We put a little lock of our hair in the envelope and we seal it and we send it to you. And then you come back with like, please stop doing this, Eileen. I'm like, I'm going to keep doing it. Thank you.
Meanwhile, look at all the locks of hair that Doug has sent him.
I know, they're all gone.
I didn't say they were from the head.
That's true. There's plenty left elsewhere. So anyway, Max leans on the car, which Goofy has not put in park or turned on the emergency brake. So it rolls off down the canyon towards what I assume is the Colorado River. And this leads to like a whole like physical comedy type sequence as they're kind of going after the car, trying to manage the fact that all of their luggage and stuff is flying out of it. They're still arguing on their way down this descent of cartoon insanity till they both wind up sort of sitting on the car as it's floating gently down the river. And I like, before we get to the song, there's like a few lines back and forth here. Again, it's like they're still fighting. He talks about like, he says something like, I have my own life or whatever. And he says, I just wanted to be a part of it.
Now look where you got us, Dad! Where I got us? You should let me stay at home!
Why? So you'd end up in prison?
Prison? What are you talking about?
Your principal called me!
Now what do you think? You even lied to me! I had to! You were ruining my life!
I was only trying to take my boy fishing, okay?
I'm not your little boy anymore, Dad! I've grown up! I've got my own life now!
I know that! I just wanted to be part of it. You're my son, Max. No matter how big you get, you'll always be my son.
Yeah, that's the big conclusion of the argument. And you're like, oh.
Yeah, and that's like such a good line read too. Just want to be a part of it. I'm like, okay.
But Dad, I have my own life now. I know that, son. Just wanted to be a part of it.
I have goosebumps because I'm just replaying the moment in my head. Oh,
fantastic stuff. I mean, like, we do get like Max really venting to his dad. He's been angry and he has vented a lot throughout this whole movie. But when he's like, "You ruined everything," and then Goofy's like, "Well, you ruined the vacation," and it's like, I ruined it. I never wanted to go on this stupid vacation.
Yeah. This is where it's all finally coming out in this moment of like mayhem, and so we get them. They're gonna reconcile while they're sitting on this car singing "Nobody Else But You."
There are times you drive me, shall we say, bananas, and your mind is missing. No offense, a screw.
Untaken.
Still, whatever mess I land in, who is always understanding. Nobody else but you.
Oh, your moodiness is now and then bewildering, and your values may be, so to speak, askew. Thanks. Who deserves a hero's trophy as we face each catastrophe? Nobody else but you. Nobody else but you. It's just our luck. We're stuck together, nobody else but you is crazy enough to believe we'll come through.
So your jokes are all, let's face it, prehistoric.
Again, another banger, but this one's not as frequent on my playlist just because like it's just a nice heartwarming song between the two as opposed to like a pump up song.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still doing a good job of like writing to the characters' voices, where like they Goofy at one point they take the word catastrophe and he pronounces it catastrophe to like make a rhyme work. Like so they're still making him Goofy, capital G, for this to work. Like it's still a musical number between Max and this character.
Yeah, we should also note we shouted out Jason Marsden, who is the speaking voice of Max, but it is Aaron Lohr who is the singing voice of Max.
Yeah, and really indistinguishable too. They do very sometimes once in a while that happens where it's a very obvious mismatch between an acting and a singing voice. But here they like you would never know unless somebody told you that it's two different actors. So they're floating down the river, and now Max finally lets on to Goofy what was going on, and I liked it immediately. He's like, "Then we got to get you on stage."
Yep.
Right. Like it's if you had just told me that from the beginning, I probably would have been on board for it. So before they can do that, though, they are now approaching a precipitous waterfall.
A waterfall.
Classic. A waterfall.
Yep. And so calamity. And of course they solve this. So like Max ends up like kind of going over the falls, but like he's sort of got a makeshift parachute on.
Mm-hmm.
And so that when Goofy goes over the falls, Max then uses the perfect cast to save him.
Mm-hmm. This is, I campaigned really hard on TikTok when they were going to remodel Splash Mountain. So I was like, okay, Tiana's cool, but it could have been a Goofy movie. And like the drop is like when Max casts the perfect cast, and it would have been great. And it did not come to fruition. A lot of teen boys said that I was a Karen.
Yeah, for people to know, one, they should definitely follow Eileen on social media because she posts very funny shit. But also, unfortunately, the downside of posting very funny, popular shit is the percentage of chodes that want to come out of the woodwork and give you a hard time for anything.
I think of all of them as my little babies. All the little teen boys are like, oh, come here, you.
You do a very good job of putting them in their place, I have to say, which is probably part of the fun.
Thank you. It's like customer service.
You're doing everyone a service by putting these assholes in their place. Like, I'm funnier than you. Sit the fuck down. Yeah, and you knew the perfect cast was going to, that's a Chekhov's gun. You're waiting to see how it's used. And it's actually used again in the next scene. But yeah, this is great. And they're like, they don't waste any time. Like they basically, the waterfall crisis is over and we are backstage at the Powerline concert. It's happening. And they don't even waste any time with this. It's not a heist movie. That's like, we were basically, the waterfall sequence is the climax and the concert is the denouement. Like I was not expecting that to be like, oh, okay. No. The emotional payload is here. We don't need to, we can now kind of like do this victory lap to the finish line of the movie.
Yeah, and you can see that with the perfect cast use. Like the perfect cast here is the saving moment, and it's so touching between them. And then when it's in eye to eye, like it is them calling upon their shared love, but they've already mended that relationship, and so they're able to use a part of that relationship to carry them through the scene.
Right. So their Powerline is performing eye to eye. Max and Goofy sneak their way past security onto the stage. Goofy gets there first. And so Max like kind of calls out to him, do the perfect cast, which he then does without the fishing pole as a bunch of dance moves that Powerline, I guess, instead of calling out security to have these guys escorted out immediately, like he's a showman, right? He's got to pretend this is all part of the show.
He's like, well,
so he
dang, this guy's a good dancer.
Yeah. Yep.
Let's see what else he can do.
Yeah, so he does the dance, and Max comes out there, does the dance with him, and everyone sees it on pay-per-view, including Roxanne and Pauly Shore, who's just downing Cheese Whiz as usual.
Mm-hmm. And then has a little meet cute with Stacy.
So I want to throw out a thing about the Pauly Shore appearance at the end of the movie. I think that they gave him those lines that were meant for the Joey Lawrence character because it's just like he all of a sudden doesn't seem to really be a friend of him. And I feel like they were just like, oh, we've got Pauly Shore. We should give him a few more lines.
I don't even think, like, he might not even be a friend. He might just be in the AV club and just like, oh, you came to me with this proposition. Whatever. Let's see this chaos.
Mm-hmm. No, he is a chaos agent for sure. Like, they've made that clear with that character.
Much like the real Pauly Shore.
Yeah. And I like Eye to Eye as a number, by the way. Like, I agree with you. I think in your ranking of the songs from this movie, in terms of where they fit. But I think Eye to Eye is also a great number. Like, it's a good
yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's just I think Stand Out is slightly better. Now, in terms of where they fall in the movie, also, they're super on the nose in terms of like what the emotional state of Max is at the points where they first are introduced. I just think Stand Out is like much more of like a good pump up song, and like Eye to Eye is like, man, we're finally seeing Eye to Eye.
Yeah, it is on the nose. We should mention it's spelled letter I, the number 2, and then the letter I again. Yeah.
I can't tell you when I was planning my wedding how many people asked me if our first dance was going to be eye to eye. It was not, because I did not want to perform.
No, it was I Believe I Can Fly from Space Jam, right?
No. It was Maybe I'm Amazed, because
I know.
it's my husband's last name and now mine legally. And also puns, so, still got to entertain.
No, it was well chosen.
Thank you. Thank you. Some people didn't get
Amazing choice. Hey-o.
Amazing. Ayo.
So they go back to Roxanne's house now. They've made their way back, and they do a bit where this is such a road trip staple, or road trip movie staple, I should say, where the car is wrecked more and more over the course of the movie. So think Planes, Trains, and Automobiles has this. Tommy Boy, even The Big Lebowski has this. Where there's always something fun about the hero vehicle being reduced to a husk by the end. But Max goes to knock on her door. Scary Dad is there again in a big towel.
Another very different single dad from Goofy and Pete. Just 3 different types of single dads.
Yeah, we never. Pete's not single. He's got Peg. We just don't see her.
Oh, that's
here.
right.
Yeah,
You're right. You're right.
I kind of missed her.
And we also don't know if Roxanne's dad is single or not. Maybe her mom's working. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I jumped to conclusions, and I apologize.
I do kind of miss Peg in this movie. I think she's a good element from the show. But there's in terms of streamlining it, I can see why she's not there. So Roxanne and Max have their heart to heart, and she's like, "Why did you make that up?" She's like, "He says I wanted you to like me." He says, "I already liked you from the first A-hyuck."
Max, I saw you on TV. You were great.
Yeah? I mean, no. I mean, Roxanne, I lied to you. I don't even know Powerline.
What are you talking about? 1 billion people saw you dance with him.
Yeah, well, I never met him before. The concert, that is.
You mean that story about Powerline and your dad? Why would you make up something like that?
I don't know. I guess I just wanted you to like me.
I already liked you, Max. From the very first time I heard you laugh. A-hyuck? So, you want to do something tonight?
Definitely. Oh no, I can't.
What?
Well, I'm kind of doing some with my dad. Honest, how about tomorrow?
Deal.
She liked his laugh, and everything was like, "You dumb, everything was fine to begin with. You didn't have to try so hard." And she says, "Do you want to do something tonight?" And he says, "I can't. I'm hanging out with my dad, but let's get together tomorrow." And she kisses him, or they kiss.
And then he hucks.
Yep,
he does.
He hucks after a kiss, which don't we all?
Yeah,
kind of. Yeah,
you just get a smooch and you go yuck.
Yuck.
Well, I like that Max has learned here. It's not just about communicating better with Goofy. It's with her as well. It's just come out clean, say what you actually think and mean.
It's so much easier to communicate. Therapy didn't exist back then, though, so the only way you can learn this is through a road trip.
Right. No TED Talks for kids.
No.
Yeah. And so then the car explodes Goofy on the roof.
We get a classic Goofy scream.
Yeah. I was waiting for that. I was surprised we hadn't heard one yet, but they saved it for this.
They wet your whistle at the opening because when they drop the title, they throw one out there. But then the rest of the movie, it's like, okay,
it sandwiches the whole movie. It's like a little start and end with a Yahoo-y.
And so they get Roxanne is introduced to Goofy. He just says "Enchanté," and that's it. That's the end of the movie.
Turns out he's fluent in French.
Oh, he's had so many jobs. At some point,
Goofy, what a genius! I really enjoyed watching it. I'm glad I finally had an excuse to do this. So, guys, so we've gone through the movie. We've talked about it a bit, but why do you think that this movie is still something that you guys are hyper nostalgic about? All these years later, you and I guess everyone from the 90s that's not an old crank like me.
I mean, I think it's important to start with the fact that we are at a good moment in terms of our fandom for it. It's exactly 30 years right now since it first came out. About 5 years ago, at the very start of the pandemic, there was a huge nostalgia wave that hit. People were going crazy for it. I don't know why. There was a ton of rewatch parties, and it just seemed to be a movie that was on the wave, and that was the 25-year anniversary. So I think that it's in its like space right now where people are nostalgic for it and want to bring it up and are like, oh right, that movie was so great. So I think in terms of the nostalgic waves of the decades, like we're in that period right now anyway for it. But for me, like, again, this was super foundational to my adolescence. Like, it was the movie that like ushered me into a lot of like adolescent thinking, and in some cases the wrong way. Like because like I idolized Max a little too much. But I think that between the soundtrack, the comedy, the morals of it, just the general structure, I think it just flows so well. It's so funny. It's so quotable. And it just really lingered with me because it hit me at exactly the right time.
Yeah, I think like for a lot of those 90s kids, like you grow up, you love the movie because it's funny, it's got fun songs, you relate to Max, and then as you get older, you start relating to Goofy more. I've seen a lot of discourse about like people that had absentee fathers and they kind of like watch that as like little Goofy's my dad now, like sort of thing. Like there's a lot of different elements, but I also think like getting like, not to like put my comedian philosopher hat on, but just like truth in comedy is always going to stick with you. Like there's so much heart to the movie and there's so much like truth behind what Max is saying, what Goofy's saying, and like the juxtaposition between him and Pete, that like stuff that's like good and real like that is going to have lasting power, I think.
Yeah, the more I do this podcast, looking back at especially comedies from the 80s and 90s, there's a lot of comedy now that is missing this sincerity, and like they're almost afraid to be sincere. Everything has got this layer of like removal, where it's like we're just here to tell jokes. And we don't want
ironic
to feel
detachment.
Yep, member berries, just references to things, and so like stuff like this, where John Hughes movies and things where it's like those movies work because you do have, like, you are invested in those characters when funny things happen to them, but also like the moments where things get real don't feel shoehorned in or artificial. They're just like a part of the movie. This movie is very grounded, which is crazy for, again, it's literally called a goofy movie.
Bigfoot is a character in this movie.
Yeah, but it is actually, looking at like Disney's output during this time, it's relatively grounded. It takes place in basically, present day. And other than the Sasquatch, there's no fantastical elements in it. There's no, magical Disney, granting genies and, wishes and, fairy tale stuff. Look at, you had, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, The Little Mermaid leading up to this, right? A lot of Disney magic, big magical things. And here is just like, this is just a kid and his dad going on a road trip, and the kid being grumpy because he'd rather be going on a date with the girl he likes.
Yeah, super simple.
Very low stakes compared to, Hunchback or whatever, or even Pocahontas, which is more in the real world than this, but like, still, like everything in those movies is, gigantic stakes, right? Here, the stakes could not be like more small and relatable, and they work so well because of that. Like, you've got just this father and son dynamic that, look at other great father and son movies, right? You said Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, stuff like that, where like, you really feel this, like you can, because you're now old enough, right? You can feel both sides of the equation for Max and Goofy. Like there's really a lot here, and I came away very impressed with it. Of like, I totally get why this movie has had the reputation it has, and why people, as you said, were super excited for the 25th and now the 30th anniversary of it.
Dang.
So, dang indeed.
Dang.
So, guys, we're here at the end of the road. So I'm just going to thank you both for coming on this podcast and doing this. It's always a treat talking to both of you.
Thank you.
Case, if people want to find your shows, tell the audience about the different podcasts you've got going and where they find you.
Yeah. So most places online, you can find me at Case Aiken. except for Instagram, where I'm holding on to my AIM screen name from high school for dear life, because apparently I am
Hell yeah.
stuck in that sort of period of my life, where you can find me on Instagram at Quetzalcoatl5, because I was a giant pretentious nerd in high school, as well as today. But as far as my shows go, so I host 2 podcasts that are on regular occurrence, which is Another Pass, which is a movie analysis show where we look at movies that we found fascinating but flawed and speculate what could have been done at the time of production to make a stronger final product. With the exception of every 5 episodes, we look at a movie that had something like that occur. For example, the movie Predator. Basically, everyone on set had diarrhea. Production was terrible. The crew didn't know what they were doing. All the lights exploded the first day. The whole thing was so bad that it ran into Schwarzenegger's wedding, and they had to completely rewrite and totally redo the 3rd act. So that's an example of the type of movie that we'll do every 5th episode on Another Pass. And then my other show is a Superman and Superman adjacent show called Men of Steel, where we talk about the fantasy of being Superman and cool stories with Superman or Superman-like characters. So we'll talk about like Invincible or The Boys or, whatever thing that people are talking about where it's like, hey, it's Superman, but we like looking at those kind of stories because it's important to see like how the power fantasy can be stretched into different ways. So check both of those out. They are available wherever you get your podcasts. Again, Another Pass and Men of Steel. Those are my 2 shows. Check those out.
And I will say I've had the pleasure of guesting on both of those. In fact, I'm not sure when this is going to come out exactly relative to your episode that I did on The Incredibles, but I think they'll be relatively close. I'm not 100% sure on that, but
probably. Podcast time is weird, so they'll be relatively close.
Yeah, I'll make sure to put a link to that when it appears. I'll plug it so you'll know, so you can go listen to that. But please listen to all of Case's shows. They're all really great. Your analysis is always just a delight to listen to. So, and Eileen, where do they find you and the cool things you do?
Oh my goodness. You can find me at most places at Eileen Mary O'Connell, which is my professional name. My married name, Eileen Mayse. I go by both, but I don't want to change my handles because there's too much SEO involved in that. I'm also on, if X and Twitter is still relevant to anybody, they're at I_lean. I can't give up that handle. Again, SEO is so cool. I perform once a month at the Clubhouse in Los Feliz. If you're in the Los Angeles area, we perform the 3rd Thursdays of every month. Our team is called Chameleons, and we do improvised genres. Every month we pick a different genre, and we improvise around it. So we've done months where we've done like Hallmark movies or Pixar. So like it's always fun every month. And if this podcast comes out early enough, I will be doing a show at UCB on Saturday the 11th. It's called Sketch Cram. It's where we write and perform a whole sketch show all in one day. So check that out. And if not...
when you say the 11th, I assume you mean January 11th, which is probably not.
I can't whip it together that fast. I'm sorry.
So I've been on some where, guys, let me tell you, the show that I just did on January 11th was really funny. My sketches were funny and people laughed. Wish you could have made it, but this podcast didn't come out on time.
4 standing ovations.
4 standing ovations. And Lorne Michaels came and he offered me a job at Saturday Night Live. And I said, no, I don't want to move to New York. And he said, okay.
So there you go. That's where you find Case and Eileen. If you, of course, have time, please do drop the show a review wherever you found it. That also goes for Case's shows as well. Dropping reviews on podcasts actually makes a big difference for podcasts you like. If you want to help other people find them, you just want to make the podcasters happy. That's a great way to do it. Also, word of mouth. Tell people you liked the show. You can follow us on social media at the usual social media places. Just look for Nostalgium Arcanum or Nostalgium Pod. It's one of those 2 handles. And because of the ridiculous Latin words I've used for this podcast, you'll find it. So that's how you get in touch with us. I would recommend following us if you're going to follow us on any of those, either Facebook, Instagram, or BlueSky, because I used to just tell you what the next episode was going to be, but I've gotten so out of sorts with trying to predict what's coming out when. What I'll do is, if you follow us on social media, every Wednesday I'll post a clue as to what the next Monday's episode is going to be. So just play along there and try and guess what it's going to be. So I can't tell you what's coming out after this episode, but if you look in a couple of days, you'll find out exactly what it is. So
yeah, you might be able to guess.
You might be if you are clever. So will it be an extremely goofy movie? Probably not. But it'll be an extremely something. So thanks again, guys, for doing this. This was a real pleasure. Always good talking to you, and what a fun movie to spend some time with. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Also, Case, really nice to meet you. This is our first interaction, and I think we're best friends for life.
I think that I think I've done the perfect cast and hooked you. And yeah.
Well, thanks again, everybody, and until next time, that is one more entry in the Nostalgium Arcanum.
Occurred to you what would happen to my future if I were to fail to live up to my responsibilities? Does that ever occur to you? How's it?
Scary for me.
Why?
I just want to go back to my room.
Just one more take, Donald. Yeah. I'm not gonna hurt you.
Stay away from me.
Donald.
Stay away.
Darling. Light of my life. I'm not gonna hurt you. You didn't let me finish my sentence. I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in. Gonna bash them right the yuck in. Yeah. Give me the bat. Stop swinging the bat. Give me the bat, Donald. Donald. Give me the bat. Give me the bat.